Keep living the adventure. Axis of Awesome.
Incoming transmission.
What is up, adventurers? Welcome to another Who's in the Shop. Appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Tonight's guest is a guy who really doesn't need any introduction. Odds are, if you're a collector of vintage G.I. Joe stuff and have ever had them restored, this guy has flocked a figure for you or flocked a figure for somebody you know. So let's welcome to the stage my good friend, SIG20, Mr. Stacy Armstrong.
Well, I don't care. No, you're my agent. You're supposed to be working for me. Look, I don't care what Jimmy Fallon wants. If he wants me on the Tonight Show, it's going to cost $100 grand.
Stacy, we're live, bro. We're live, buddy. What do you?
Just a second.
Whoa, are you cutting deals, man? Are you cutting deals?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know.
Star, don't you know?
You are a movie star. You're the new Lon after Monday night on Paul's live stream. You're the new Lon Chaney.
Oh yeah. That was fun.
The man of many genders now.
Yeah.
Hey man, what's going on?
Oh, not much. Same old, same old.
Thanks for coming on.
Chipping away.
How's everything going up there in Michigan?
Well, the weather sucks. It's cold and then it starts to warm up and then cold and snow again. It's like it just won't ever quit. I don't know.
Oh boy. What do you got? What's the weather right now? Is it raining?
Well, no, it's 39 degrees right now.
39 degrees. It was 63 and sunny here today, but that's probably going to change. You never know. Weather's pretty bipolar anymore nowadays. So
yeah.
So man, what has been going on? I know I told you when we were off camera. You're every week you're on Paul's channel. You guys are always having a great time, and you guys always get to share what you got going on. And I wanted to have you on tonight so you could talk about all the other stuff that you have that you don't really get to share all the time. And I know you and I've talked a lot about projects you've been working on. So tonight, man, this is going to be the Stacy show. So okay. I want to know what you got going on, dude. What's going on in your shop?
Well, besides the work that I'm doing, which I'll show you this one. I got this in. So this is kind of the work that I do. You can see they all need to be repainted, rebuilt, body parts changed if I have them, and reflocked. So when I'm not doing customer stuff, I try to do my stuff, which is very seldom lately because I'm really behind the 8 ball. I'm like still 3 weeks behind, but I have, working on the Golden Skull project a little bit here and there. Well, I got to stay up with that. And then,
boy.
Yeah, Murray sent me the Action Man horse, which I plan on flocking so I can put with my Mountie back here. And I have the saddle set for it, so it'll be, the right type for it. But those are things that, will I get to them? I hope so. I want to do the helicopter this year, and I have the Big Bad Toys, that big grizzly bear that Rick Bradshaw showed.
Oh yeah.
So I tried to talk him into doing it. He didn't want to get a flock, so I bought my own. Little section over here just to see what it would look like, and it looks really good. So again, will I get to it? Sure, sometime.
So you have flocked the grizzly bear?
Oh well, that one up there. Well, you don't see him now. Oh, he's way up at the top. I don't. Can you see him? You're not good.
Yeah.
I didn't do. This is this is a small one.
Oh, okay. Wow, that looks really nice, man. Let's
So
yeah.
see, I did the pause too.
Wow. So did you blend it all then to kind of get the color?
Yeah, because you can put any kind of facial markings you want to on it. I just did the blonde like that.
That looks really good, dude.
On the
Wow.
ears. I did a bunch of different ones. So, but the big one, you know, it's really 1/6 scale, so it's huge. So I'm going to go through probably half a bag of flock.
Wow.
It'll be expensive.
Yeah,
But,
well, that would be
it'll be
cool
fun.
though.
Yeah, I want to see what it looks like. You know, I don't really care if I do another one, but if I did, I would probably like to do make it a polar bear next time.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Would you have to paint that first a white to kind of break that
Get it all
color?
bright white. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd have to paint it a couple times to make sure there's no dark spots in it because it'll
Right on.
show. You know,
Right
but
on. Wow.
it would be fun to do, you know, fun to show up or set up as a, you know, like my skier or something like that, you know, put them with that, you know, that big. But, you know, then of course we have our tariff, so
Yeah.
might
Yeah.
become expensive.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could become a gold after a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is what's the last thing you did for yourself? Your Japanese soldier, or not your Japanese soldier? Your Marine. That of your dad's Marine figure, right? Was that probably the last one?
Yeah, I worked on that last, and then Paul Macias helped me with that.
That was a great figure.
Yeah, he did all that stuff, and then I think I want to do is I've got good pictures of them, and then I want to scan those pictures and see if I can't, or maybe get somebody to help me do the 3D sculpture for it, and then I'll print the heads myself.
Oh wow!
I'll print his head and put it on there.
That'll be awesome.
Then that'll be the final part of it. So
you gonna put it in like a shadow box or?
Yeah, probably will then. That way I can open the pieces up and display them and put them in a big box.
That'll be a super one of a kind item. That'll be super cool. You have to definitely share that when you get that done, because I'm proud
of the service, you know.
So. Oh yeah, for sure. And I don't think anybody's ever really, you know, not that I know of, had a figure of their father, you know, that the head and everything. That would be just mind blowing to see that, you know.
Well, I'm working on one right now for a fellow GI Joe bro, Randy Hamrick.
Yep.
I'm doing his dad. So
wow.
He needed the head for that, so he got 3D sculpted.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. So like, so when you do the 3D stuff, do you have somebody that gets a scanner? Then,
well, I have a scanner.
You have a scanner, not with a photo though. Photo, you're gonna have somebody pull it in and.
Yeah, you have 3D rendering for that.
Right.
Yeah, which you can do. Sometimes it comes out pretty decent. Sometimes it doesn't come out really good at all. So I'm gonna try it myself, and if I can't get it to come out good, then I'll, you know, enlist somebody's help. There's a couple guys out there that are, you know, as you may know, I don't want to say one name without, you know, saying the other.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, I think they could do the job and get it really close, and I'd be happy with that because it's something different. It wouldn't be just a Joe head then on it, you know.
Wow.
I have everything else because I have all his ribbons and everything. So
that'd be cool. Just cool to have that piece of history just all together, you know, to just have. And it's something you pass down. I mean, that's like a time capsule, right?
Yeah, that would go to my son, or because my daughter doesn't care about stuff like that, so you go to him and then he give it to my grandson or whatever, you know. So and then they probably just tear it up anyway. So just have, as long as they're having fun with it, I guess. I'm not here, so you know, right?
And as long as they're having fun, it's all matters.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, you know, doesn't make a difference that Grandpa spent $500 on all of it.
Let's check the comments tonight, Susan. The comments, we got Murray Corrigan's here tonight. A guy named Paul Knapp's here tonight.
Oh geez, what a troublemaker.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ban that guy.
Dan DiBiase is here. Hey Dan, welcome. Moon Doggy. Let's see. We got
Michelle
G.I. Joe AT. Yep, Michelle, G.I. Joe AT. Action Joe Figs popped in. I appreciate it. Yeah, let's see. That's about it. We got a decent little crowd here tonight, so this ought to be a
Nice.
good time. Yeah.
Oh, Angelo's here.
Oh, Angelo. Yep, he just popped in. Okay.
Yep.
Yep. We should have more coming in as the night goes on. You know, it's a fun Thursday night. It's a fun Thursday night exercise for me.
Yeah.
You know.
What's up with you? What are you doing new?
Well,
The table's on you, my friend.
Yeah, well, I've got the Golden Skull deal going on right now, so I'm building props and getting ready to start doing my early shoots for that. I got order in from Syndico. I managed to score another Takara Joe.
Oh, you got a nice one too.
Yeah, I got a good one. $7.
Oh, what a deal!
$7, and then I got these two. They're earlier issue Cotswold figures. I got a drill instructor, and this guy's got that head that
the gunny head.
It's like it's almost like an Asian head, right? But
it's Andy. They discontinued it.
Yeah,
that's the Andy figurehead.
So I got him, and then I got this guy here, a tiger stripe figure.
Yep.
And I got that and a lot of other stuff for like $20. So
you can't beat it sometimes. You know, you just run across the right stuff. They have a lot of Cotswold stuff on there, if you ever noticed.
They have a ton of Cotswold stuff on there. Yeah. A lot of the later or early issue stuff, you know, like before things got discontinued, before things changed. And, you know, like we were talking about, it is Syndico is for anybody out there who's watching, who's not familiar with it, Syndico is a auction site in Japan, and it is a wormhole, right? It's like we talked about. It's like drug addiction.
Yep. They're a proxy bidder.
Yep.
You have to put money into an account, but once you do that, then you can bid on stuff. But it's sort of like eBay, but not.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
eBay, you can tie your card to it or a PayPal account. You can technically on Syndico tie your PayPal account to it, but you still have to provide funds up front.
Yeah.
So once you do that, though, then you can bid on whatever. And G.I. Joe, I mean, you know, 10 robots, whatever you want, you know, Nintendo games, it's all there. But you have to be careful, like if you're buying game systems, because they won't work over here.
Right.
The games won't too, I understand. So
that's another wormhole that you go down, the video game stuff, because that's where I first discovered it, was the video game system. My buddy at work, son, is a big video gamer, and he started buying stuff on there, and they brought it to my attention, and I'm like, let me get on here and look at this. So I got on there and started doing searches. I'm like, holy crap.
Yep.
Oh man, yeah, I've got a lot of cool stuff, but other than that, man, I haven't been doing much. I've been so busy. My son's playing soccer right now, so we've been tied up with that, and I haven't had a lot of time to work on stuff as far as videos and projects. But that'll all change here soon. Hope to get some more videos uploaded here in the next few weeks, and then we'll be doing the live stream here, and then take a break for the summer, and then come back and go full speed into the fall, hopefully. Yeah.
Well, you're doing good. I like the show. I've been watching them. I like the last video you had with your son there. That was pretty good.
Oh, the Iron Man review. The Iron Man review was hilarious. You could probably hear my wife laughing in the background, because she asked me on a few of them. She's like, "Are you going to edit that out?" I'm like, "Absolutely not."
No,
I'm like, we do these off the cuff, man.
And I was like, he's eating a hot dog bun.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a couple more that are really funny. Later on this year, when I do I'm going to do a Japanese July, where I just showcase some of the imports I've got from Syndico, and then the last video that we're going to do is him sharing his whole Shogun Warrior Jumbo Machinder collection. Yeah. So that'll be be funny.
Well, he likes that, so that's good. I mean, he
loves
it and stuff, so that's good.
Loves
Keeps
it.
the imagination going.
Loves Iron Man too, and like you've probably heard me on some of my podcasts.
Yeah, I'm sure you like Iron Man too.
Love him. I'm gonna get me an Iron Man T-shirt and start wearing it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Love Tony Stark.
Is it? And then the back's gonna say Tony Stark.
Yep.
Like
Tony Stark, heart emojis.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be
Love
good.
Tony Stark.
Yeah, there you go.
Jesus, man.
Yeah.
So what
So
projects? Huh?
so emotional with Tony, you are.
So do you have any new projects you've been working on, like to share?
Nah, not really. I just been working. I've got so much work. I've got different jobs. Like I started Randy's Head, and that takes time to do. I can only work a little bit here and there, and so I've got these big jobs to turn out because people want these for either shows or I don't know what they do with them. I don't know if they got a store or take them to a flea market or I don't know. I'd like to know what happens to a lot of my stuff that I work on.
It'd be cool if you could chip them.
I
I hate to
thought
say
about
that, but it'd be cool if you could
like
chip them,
just like even one just to see where it goes for
and then you
travel.
just track it wherever it goes.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah,
be
I
neat.
always wonder that too with the stuff I sell on eBay. Like, what happens to it? It'd be funny if you like sold something, and then like 10 years later, you buy something that has your stuff in it. Like, you get a lot of stuff. You're like, oh
I did.
shit, it came back
That
around.
happened. That happened to me.
That's happened to you?
That's happened to me. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So when I was in Florida, I was doing some restringing, and I when I first started doing it, it was my friends, and I would take inside the head after I reflocked it, and I restrung the muscle body. I put inside the head, restrung by, and put my name on it. And I found it on eBay, and I got it on eBay. But he had sold it to somebody else, and then that's how I got it. But I got one, so I thought it was
No
pretty
shit.
cool.
No shit. Want to say hi real quick?
Hi.
Just come here in front of the camera.
Hi,
Say hey.
how you doing?
All right. Come by.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Woo. One of these days, he'll be probably
Yeah,
taking over my YouTube channel,
yeah. Well,
and that will be hilarious because he's starting to watch some stuff on YouTube with the older guys and
mhm.
doing stunts and stuff, and I'm like, I'll be out there with a camera, going,
Yeah,
Jesus,
yeah.
man.
Is he into Iron Man or any? I mean, not Iron Man. What you call it?
Joe,
Ultraman. Ultraman.
Ultraman. Yeah, did you watch the new Ultraman on Netflix?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
It's actually really good.
It is okay.
It's a really good animated one. Well, there's two. There's the Ultraman cartoon, which is a more, I'd say, adult-oriented anime style, and then there's an Ultraman, which is one for kids.
Right.
And I really like the one for. I like the mature one, but I like the one for kids quite a bit. It's a really good show. It was a movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember what the name of it was, but I like the animation. I like how they basically portrayed. Spoiler alert for any of you guys out there who haven't watched it, but it's a father, the original Ultraman, and then his son takes over as Ultraman, and he's, the begrudged hero, and it's a really good story though. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I used to watch it as a kid, so that's why when I could get that, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm buying that.
What all did you watch as a kid? Like, what do you watch? Ultraman? Did you watch G-Force?
Nope. You gotta remember, mine's a different time. So I grew up in the late '60s, early
Okay.
'70s, up until about '74. I guess I watched a lot of television. After I was 10, I was outside all
Yeah.
the time. So other than football, watching National Football League. Other than that, and maybe NASCAR on Sundays if I wasn't out with my friends. That was it. I was watching those two. So, bouncing back and forth to those. But I grew up watching like Three Stooges, Gunsmoke, all the old TV shows, Gilligan's Island, Star Trek, everything. So I liked it all.
So when did you get into G.I. Joe? As a kid?
Well, yeah, I got it. What happened was I went over to my cousin's house, and my aunt had bought him. He had about 4 or 5 GI Joes, and I thought Stacy was younger. Nice. Thank you. And I went over there, and I picked it up and started playing with it, and I didn't put it down. And it was time to leave. My dad kept calling me, and I kept playing, and he started yelling. And so then I came down and I still had it in my hand. I didn't really realize it. And then he goes, my cousin comes over, he goes, hey, he tried taking out my hand. I pulled it back like that. And then my aunt says, well, you've got like 4 or 5 other G.I. Joes. Just give him that one. And he's like, no, that's my favorite. And she goes,
always.
Mother, yeah. And so I got to take it home. And then for Christmas, I got the 59, my first brand new one, which was, the Adventures of G.I. Joe. And yeah, I got the one with the piece of paper, and it said, because we were out of stock of this item, we upgraded you to what we thought was equal or fair value or something like that. And it was typed on a piece of paper. And I put that little thing with, and now, they're very expensive.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I had the Aquanaut. So, and I had a regular adventurer. And so I got 2 that year. And then in 1970, the Adventure Team came out. So it was just a change I didn't really realize, but I'd get them a couple times every year. So I was pretty much stuck. I loved them all the way until about 75. I had my last one in 75. I don't think I got one in 76. And then that was it. You couldn't find G.I. Joe anymore, and I was getting older anyway. So, I found one at a flea market in the 90s, and that's when I was rehooked. I got them for like $20, and I'm like, oh, I'm buying this. And I took them home, and that was a big wormhole that I can't get out of. It's what I like to do. So I'll do this and do my repairs and stuff like that as long as I'm still having fun, and it's not a job to me, because I'm just tired. I don't want to work or feel like I have to work. So as long as this is not an impact on me that says, oh, you got to go to work and go do this stuff today, and it's a job, then that's time when I'm going to start saying, well, I'm going to have to back off and not do this anymore.
So when you got that figure in 96, do you remember, which adventurer was it?
It was a Land Adventure.
Yeah, which was pretty common, right? And then after,
marine clothing.
What shape was he in?
He just had a few beard rubs, but there was no cracks in his body. He was hard hand, and he was in a Marine uniform, and even got the cap with him. But he had regular black boots, not the dress shoes, And so I took pictures of him everywhere. We went camping, and I would take pictures of him, like turning on the gas, the gas jugs, stupid shit. I just having fun. And then, then I realized, I'm like, I'm imagining stuff I did when I was a kid. So this could be good. But in Florida, you don't get a lot of places to find stuff. For some reason, I went to flea markets all the time. Never saw one in a flea market.
Really?
I happened to find this at a antique store. That's how I found it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then after that, when did you start restoring them? Like when did you start, like, when was SIG20? When did SIG20? Where does SIG20 come from, and when did you start all that?
Okay, well, so in 2000, I was living in Tennessee, and I had an adopted son and a natural born son, and they wanted to start a band. And so one played the guitar, one played the drums. My natural born played the drums. And so they needed another person. So I bought a bass, started to learn how to play the bass. So that's, and how the names for SIG20 came along is we were trying to set up to play like gigs in a club, and it was hard finding shirts that all looked the same. And so we stopped in a Goodwill, and they had these, my wife had found these shirts that all said SIG20 on them. And we looked it up and found out that it was for some kind of retardation thing. I'm not trying to make fun of it.
No, I know, but that's so funny that you would find that.
So that's how the name came. So,
oh wow,
SIG20 was from the band, and then my adopted son passed away from an accident, and so my son and I, we play together, but we don't really go out and play in, clubs or nothing like that. So, and he lives in Florida. So, the name kind of just died. So I decided when I started to do flocking that I needed to come up with a name. I didn't want to just use my name all the time
Yeah.
because I have a long name. So I thought that would be nice, little small little thing. And so I used the SIG20, and that's how that came about. So, and that started in probably 2010. I learned how to electrostatically reflock. I've already done the blow bottle stuff like that before that. So I got really good at it, and I was doing it for a few friends who were collectors where I lived. And they all said, you should put it on, sell it for other people, do it other people. And my wife said, you should put it on eBay and do it. I'm like, well, okay, I'll put it up there. And so I started doing, like in 2011, I started putting it on eBay. And immediately it just I was doing 2 or 3 every week. And then it started going up to like 20. And then I thought, well, maybe, I don't know, how should I do this? Maybe I'll offer a bigger discount quantity if you send more, because it's easier when you get like 5 people and they're sending 5 different single heads in versus one who's sending 20 in. It's easier to keep track of the 20 than the 5 separate ones. And one time I did make a mistake and I sent somebody's stuff to the wrong person.
Oh man, that's yeah.
So yeah, so they had to send it back to me, and then I refunded their money and apologized. And not only did I refund them the shipping money, I refunded them the flocking money too.
Mm-hmm.
So I got it right. And from that point on, I'm like, I have to do something different because I was taking pictures of everything, but somehow I got them transposed. I don't know how it happened for sure, but so I found that it was just easier to do bigger quantities. And so I just said, I put like an ad on a thing on my addendum on my ad saying like, I do large jobs, and that kind of stuck, I guess. So, and then I guess the first big person who was kind of more of a commercial was Paul Harrison. He contacted me, and he said, "Well, what do you flock?" And I said, "Well, I can flock just about anything." So, so he said, "Well, like I can send you like 50 heads the first time." So, and I did them like in 2 days and sent them right back. And then that started us. We kind of, helped each other out from that point on. And then, so I do some for a couple other Joe Bros around here. I'll try to do a lot for my local club, the Michigan GI Joe Club. And it just started expanding from there. So I had to learn how to fix talkers because I really didn't get into that, but it all, as soon as you start doing it, it all becomes easy. Then I started having to paint like eyes, the actual eyes. That was a little tough at first, but now it's a breeze. I can paint a set of eyes and eyebrows in 5 minutes.
Wow. So, you're not shaky?
Well, no, not really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a little bit, but I've got pretty hands, so I can do it. And then you got to have really good brushes, and you got to have good paint. And I have my eyesight's the worst thing, so I have these.
Me too.
So yeah, and a bright light. You have to have bright light, and you have to be calm.
Yeah.
So you can't have a lot of crap going around you when you're doing that. But it's fun. I enjoy doing it. And when like I said, when it's not fun anymore, then, I'll cut it back or completely not do it anymore. So, but I'm always constantly amazed how many GI Joe heads or whatever that I flock, and they still keep coming.
Yeah.
I keep thinking one day they're going to run out, but I don't. Now I've done some Action Man. I've done a few for over in England. I sent them over there. I did do a couple in Brazil early on, but
that's a tough place to ship.
It is. So
real
I
tough.
quit. Yeah, I quit doing Brazil. Matter of fact, I had somebody contact me today, and I said, "No, I'm sorry, I don't do it."
Yeah, I love those guys too, and that really
Yeah.
sucks because,
Yeah.
you know, I bought a Mechanis off of Sydney.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I
Okay.
did. Yeah, he gave me some other stuff, and um, have you seen the Mad Doctor
Hmm.
figure? I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna get one of those too.
Well, yeah.
Oh man, I love that guy. Then Carlo Voigt, uh, who does Easy 1/6, he's doing some stuff for me. But yeah, and those people are so nice. The
They
Brazilian,
are,
are
and it's
just
a
so
shame
nice.
that they can't get any help.
It is.
You
It's
know, and it's
disheartening.
just difficult though for anything to go across. You know, it,
Yeah, it's just
I feel
yeah.
bad, but
Yeah, the few times I've talked to Felipe, you know, on the live stream here, we've talked off camera about the
yeah,
difficulties that he faces over there, and it's or down there, I guess, and it's just yeah, it sucks because there's
it
so
does.
many talented people worldwide in our
Yeah,
hobby, just our hobby, you know, just the
right.
1/6 scale Joe hobby. There's so many talented people, and it's that global barrier that it's just so hard for everybody to overcome, and I'm just like and you hear these people's stories and they're like you want to be able to help them but there's not, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
there's not a lot
Well,
you can do.
yeah. I met Felipe. I think it was back in let me think, 2013.
Is that when he came over here for Joe Lana
Yeah,
probably?
he was in Joanna, and I think
Mm,
it was 2013 or 2014. I met him over here, and we sat and talked for like I don't know 45 minutes. He had like an end booth like down at the end of the aisle, and we talked for a while, and you know, compared little notes and stuff like that. And he was showing me his outfits and stuff like that. He was heavily into the one piece, you know, and he was telling me about like how hard it is to even get anything over there. And then he reset it again, you know, when he was on the show, you know, for the man cave, that they don't have places like it you can go in and just buy like action figures, and you know, the market is they take that stuff and just kind of push it out and sell it to us, and then they mark it up. So you know, I had a hard time getting that this figure here. It took a long time for it to come,
oh
but I,
yeah, yeah, that guy's great.
yeah, I was really happy to get that. So um, I kept the box just because you know I thought the box art is really pretty cool.
Oh, the Falcon figures are outstanding,
Yeah, I like them. Yeah,
you
because it's the
know.
closest thing you can get to a U.S. style muscle body, you know, from '75. So, but you know, it's a shame that that they suffer over there, and then we suffer because we can't get it. I mean,
Mhm.
we pay a high price, and who wants to pay, you know, that much money for? I didn't want to have to pay it, but I know they're numbered, and there's only so many out there. So I figured, well, the price just keeps going up on them, so I just better pull the trigger now.
Yeah, and that's such a unique and cool figure that, you know, for your collection, which is pretty small behind
Yeah,
you, you know,
yeah.
I probably have the easy place to find it on that shelf, I think.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Let's see. Oh, yeah, he's right here. No, well, you know, I collect them because I have a lot of Japanese figures. I have a lot of the Soldiers of the World and stuff, but they're not out because where do I? You know, it looks like I threw up here, so
Yeah,
there's no place to put it.
I think every week when you come on Paul, I try to look and see
I put one more figure out usually each time.
what
Yeah,
is so different about,
yeah. There's the Indian up there,
yeah. And
right
Michael
there.
Myers, is that Michael Myers up in there too?
Yeah, Michael. That's the '78 Michael Myers, and then over here is the one from the last one that they redid.
Oh wow. Are
So
you a
those.
fan of, are you a Halloween fan?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Is that your favorite horror movie?
that and Christine.
Is that because of the time period is like your age and when those came out
Yeah,
or
probably
what?
both of those. And you know, I was a mechanic, so I like cars, and you
Huh?
know, um, and I liked Halloween movies. You know, not all of them because some of them, you know, the later ones really were bad, and
Yeah.
they kept changing the mask after John Carpenter quit doing it. But you know, the last set of movies where these were done where they put Jamie Lee Curtis back in it, I thought were
Yep.
really good. So.
Did you like the Rob Zombie remakes?
Uh, The first one wasn't so bad. The second one I thought was pretty bad. You know, It just wasn't my style. It was definitely more violent.
Well, for sure. I mean, well, that was not. I mean, if you've ever the Devil's Rejects is probably one of the most violent movies I've ever
Sure.
watched at the movie
I didn't
theater.
mind the violence part of it. I just had a hard time following it, I guess.
Yeah.
It just lost all its nostalgia for me.
Moondoggy and me share our favorite horror movie is The Howling. The Howling is probably one of my favorite all time. I love werewolves.
Yeah.
And it's one of my all-time favorite movies. And here in Central Illinois, I don't know if anybody who's ever lived in this region, and I don't know, you grew up in Michigan, right? Or Florida?
Yeah, well, I lived there until I was 10, and then I moved to Florida. So
okay, so you remember when we were younger, and you definitely. I mean, I'm 50, and you're a little bit older than me. But back when we were kids, you had everything was syndicated, right? So
right.
you had a big, huge station affiliate out of either Chicago or like Indianapolis around here, and that's where you would get all your programming from, right? You'd have your
right.
So we had this one called WTTV4, and they had every Friday night a guy called Sammy Terry. You guys can YouTube him, Sammy Terry, and he would come on and do a creature feature every Friday night. So we'd get a pizza. Yeah, you probably had this. Chicago had Svengoolie, and who did you guys have?
Sir Graves Ghastly is who we had. He was on a UHF channel. Yeah, he was on a UHF channel. We had VHF where you had like 4 channels.
Yeah.
And UHF channel where we had like 2.
Yep.
Maybe 3 if you were lucky.
I missed those type of showcases. But Sammy Terry showed The Howling one night, and I remember like I hadn't been that scared since maybe Salem's Lot.
Yeah, I remember Salem's Lot. That kind of got me too. That was like 78, wasn't it? Something like
Salem's Lot. What the scene with the little boy scratching at the window?
Yeah.
My brother Matt, he used to do that. When I'd fall asleep, he would scratch at the window from his room and make noises, and I'm like, "You son of a bitch!" I got PTSD from that. But I didn't know you were such a big Michael Myers fan. That's cool.
Yeah, I like him. Yeah.
What about Friday the 13th?
It doesn't scare me though. It doesn't scare me. Like some people, some horror movies scare them. I don't get scared about them.
Are you a big John Carpenter fan?
Kind of, yeah. I kind of like his movies, yeah.
What's your favorite?
Work and stuff like that, yeah.
What's your favorite one? Do you have a favorite John Carpenter movie?
Well, I think
Halloween.
My favorite. I think my favorite would probably be Christine. Really, I just really like the movie. I thought it was, pretty well done for its time, and they're talking about making a remake of it. So again, we'll see.
Yeah, there's something about those late 70s, early 80s horror movies that is super unique. Like that time period is a really cool and unique time period to me. Like I don't know what it was about that. Maybe it was coming out of the 1960s and the down cycle of the 70s and everybody, being kind of gloomy and depressed. But the movies in that era are just really, really good, I think.
Yeah,
I know people look back at them and they're like, they shit on some of them, but I love all of them.
Well, think about Halloween. Okay, so it's supposed to be Haddonfield, Illinois, right? And yet they were shooting in California. Mm-hmm. And they had to get all these leaves, and then every time they would throw them down and they would blow them around, then they had to go and wrangle them all back up, put them in bags so they could use them again for the next scenes and stuff. So imagine how much fun that was.
Yeah. Somebody got paid.
Yeah. Well, most of the cast had to do it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have a lot of people. It was a low budget, really movie. Yeah. Donald Pleasance was the biggest actor in it. And he was the key for the show, he was the biggest name actor. Jamie Lee Curtis really, I don't think had done anything. Maybe she had done, I can't remember, she did that Prom Queen movie. I think that was after. So that was probably her first big role. So nobody else in it was famous. Yeah.
One of my other favorite horror genres or horror, I guess, series comes from, I think, made up there where you live in Michigan, was the Evil Dead.
Oh, the Evil
movies.
Dead, yeah.
Yeah. Those are so awesome. they're so terrible, but so awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
I had, when I tell you I don't get scared from horror movies, I did when I was a kid. So I was like 9 years old, and my parents were playing cards with my uncle and my aunt. They came over to play cards, and I always had to go to bed at 11. It was a Saturday night. And they said, okay, okay. Frankenstein came on, the original one, 1931, Boris Karloff. And I wanted to watch it. It was the first time I was going to get to watch it. And they said, okay, you can stay up and watch it. And I said, can I have a snack? And so I first had just buttered toast as a snack. And then I came back later and I said, I'm still hungry. And so my mom gave me a little thing of shrimp cocktail, came in a little glass with a little metal lid. And I sat there and I ate those, and I started getting tired after. Back then they showed the uncut one where Frankenstein picks up the girl and throws her into to see if she can float.
Yep.
Because they were throwing petal leaves in and stuff. So I started getting tired then. And so I think I fell asleep, and I think my mom came out and said, okay, go to bed. So I went to bed after everybody left. It was like 3 a.m. I woke up and I could have sworn he was standing right in front of me. I ran, and I had nightmares I'm going to tell you, for a couple of years.
Oh, really?
My parents were so mad at me. They would close the bedroom door, and then they would find me the next morning at the bottom of the bedroom door.
Oh my God, dude.
It was that bad. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I not watch any more movies like that. Yeah. But then one day, just all of a sudden it quit. And that was
it. You kind of get over it.
Yeah. But it took a long time. It was tough for me.
You outgrow. Yeah. Probably the one that scared me the most was The Exorcist when I was little, because I went to Catholic school as a kid, and my brothers would always screw with me over stuff like that. And they made me watch it one night with them, and I was probably 8 maybe. And I was just like, I don't think so, man.
Prey.
Oh, dude, I was like, this is not a cool movie at all. And I was, I could still remember like going to school and just sitting at my desk going, man, just thinking about that little girl. And like, I still won't watch it to this day. Won't watch it. Nope, can't watch it. And I don't get scared of ghosts. I don't believe in hardly any of that stuff, but I won't watch. The Exorcist is just like, nope. I got PTSD from it probably. I'm like, I'm not watching that.
Conquer your fears, man.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I got a nephew he's 40, and he sends me, I think every year he'll send me, Pazuzu the face out of the blue, and I'm like, shit out of here, man. You're killing me. But yeah. Horror movies are great. I think, the 80s and all the action movies and stuff are great. And it's just lost now. I don't think you just don't see that. I always tell everybody, like, you don't see the creativity that.
No, because everybody wants to do a remake of something else, somebody else's idea that's already done.
And I also think everybody's not on that pure cocaine anymore either.
Possibly.
I mean, it's so funny when you go back and you look at all these movies from the 80s, and you're just like, how did they even come up with this script? And I'm always like, pure cocaine. And then you look at the music videos, and you're like, pure cocaine.
Yep.
And I'm like, there you go, man. We need to get everybody hooked back on cocaine again in Hollywood. Yeah, just some of those movies, like Cobra, Sylvester Stallone's Cobra movie. Like, go back and watch that, and I'm like, the producer, the writer, the director, all of them high on cocaine. Had to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we need Hasbro to do. We need to get a Hasbro's team on cocaine, and they'll start making some wild toys, maybe.
Send them a glitter bomb that's laced with cocaine.
Just laced with cocaine. No fentanyl, just cocaine. Yeah. So, man, what was your favorite Joe as a kid?
I guess my 3 favorite that I always got all the time was Sea Adventure, A Land Adventure, and that kind of interchange with the Talking Commander, and then A Man of Action. So those were my 3 always go-tos. Yep. And now, when I tell you that I got them a couple times a year, it's because my birthday was in February. Christmas, of course, is in December. And when I would get my birthday stuff, most of the time they'd say, because they know me. So my parents they say, just go pick out the GI Joes you want, because they would get them and I'm like, but Mom, his sideburn is over here and this one is like way up here. So I'd be like, I was always that kind of kid that like, oh, his one eyebrow's up here and one's down there, and I'm like, you know, because I couldn't fix it back then. So they would let me go, and so I would go into the store, and back then they weren't taping them still until about 74. They started taping two pieces of tape, and then I would just feel the tape still, and I would open it up and look at it, and if his beard looked good, or his hair and eyebrows and eyes, and both of his eyes were looking kind of straight, I'd take him. But there was a lot of rejections, I'm going to tell you.
Wow.
I was pretty anal as a kid.
That's awesome, man. I mean, that's awesome that you're looking for that kind of stuff, you know?
I learned to pick out that kind of stuff. So that's what I did. Now, Christmas time, they just got me whatever. So sometimes those became even though they were brand new and nothing wrong with them, but if the beard was high on one side, he'd always stay turned or whatever, you know. He was the bad Joe. The one who went rogue, you know. That's what I did. So
did you have a favorite accessory set or anything? Like,
I didn't get a lot of accessories. They just always seemed to end up buying me the figures mostly. I did get Adventure Team headquarters, which was pretty cool because I was the king of the neighborhood with that, and I had the Joes. So I had a friend who had one Joe, and he had the ATV. So, you know, we pretty much would have a lot of fun. I always wanted the sub, but never got the sub. Devil of the Deep, of course, and you know, I did like everybody did, circle the Sears or JCPenney catalog. And early on, I got some of that stuff. Like I got 8 Ropes of Danger when I was up in Michigan. But when my dad left GM, because he worked for General Motors in Flint, when he left, we went down in money wise, you know what I mean? Economy.
Yeah, for sure.
So we took a hit. So there was none of that kind of stuff anymore. They just cut back a lot. So, you know, so I just got figures. Yeah. I was happy with the figures, you know, because I blew them up anyways. So I destroyed them.
Yeah.
I mean, I shot them with a BB gun after, you know, if the hand got broken, and, you know, and I would have wished, because I probably would have never done that if Hasbro, you could have sent money in and bought replacement parts. Why they never did it? I thought, you know, as a kid, they should do that. I can't be the only kid who's breaking a finger off. You know, so, or, you know, when the Kung Fu grip hands came out, you know, eventually they broke. If you had Joe carrying something kind of heavy, you know, the hands would open up or they would eventually break. But, you know, they never did any of that stuff. You couldn't buy parts. So they became the, you know, bad guys. And then pretty soon they were on a tester's rocket to the moon.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what happened with all my brothers' G.I. Joes. And that's probably when I became obsessed with G.I. Joes. My oldest brother, Bart, he's 8 years older than me, and he had a lot of Joes, and he was going to give them all to me because he never would let me play with them as a kid, right? Jeff, don't touch my shit, right? And then him and his best friend, they promised they would give me all their G.I. Joe stuff. They had the headquarters, the helicopter, the MSV, the ATVs, all that. And then one day, you know, I rode my bike down to his buddy's house, and they were blowing the shit out of all of it with M80s and M60s, you know, going straight Sid on it.
Yeah.
And after that, I became obsessed with it. And, you know, I'm like, I'm going to get me one of those G.I. Joes, you know, and that's what happens. Like, it's so interesting. Like, all of us have a story, like in this hobby, like any hobby, of why you got into it. And I'm always interested to hear, you know, people's stories of why they became collectors or why they love certain things. Like your Michael Myers and Christine stories is super awesome. And you know, getting back into your, you know, collecting this stuff when you found that figure in 96, that Land Adventure, you know, and it's just like, it is cool because I don't know how you feel, but with toys, any kind of toy, whether it doesn't matter what kind of collector you really are, I think I look at them like a time capsule. Like I can look at almost any toy that I have, and I can tell you a story about a portion or a time in my life that relates to that story or that
Mhm.
figure or whatever. And I that's what I love about collecting all that stuff is like you're forced to remember things. Good memories and bad memories, it doesn't really matter, but you have memories associated with that. Like, and that's kind of how I look at it. I don't know if that's what you think when you have your stuff.
Yeah, what I do is when I buy one or I get one, um, I'm buying back a memory for
Yeah.
me. And it's always been a happy memory, whether I was playing with it when it was brand new or blowing it up. And it's the last time. And I should have, when I would blow them up or destroy them, I should have thought to pick up the spare parts because I could have used them. But no, I just left them laying there. Nobody said I was right upstairs, so you know. But yeah, I'm buying a memory, and that's what I do today. So I have just fun. Like my favorite figures out of all the GI Joes, the
Oh, for
60s
sure. Let's
or
see
the
those.
70s, is these right here. These are mine. So now these are all new because I don't have clothing to put on them. But there's 31 in here. These are all 1974 GI Joe Kung Fu grips.
Wow. Original Kung Fu grips, or if you had to put new Guyper Man hands
No,
on
no,
them?
there's no replacement hands on them because I maybe one or two might have decent ones on there, but
Hmm.
all of them are replacement with the Guyperman hands. But I like these because this is the first year and only year for that body. Think about them with the Kung Fu grip hands because the next year they were muscle bodies.
Hmm.
So you still retain the old body, but you got Kung Fu grip hands. And Joe could hold anything. He
Yeah.
could, you know what I mean? He could climb a tree. So these are my favorite. I was 10 when I got these, and well, not these actual ones, but and so these are my favorite year to collect. So I have these, and I have probably in a couple of these other boxes that are in here another 100 or so that have no clothing yet because I'm just still searching for good clothing.
Hmm.
Say that, but I mean I have some. Um, I have
Now do those all come with the rifle, the hunting rifle?
say
Oh wow.
I mean I
Yeah.
have stuff that's ready to go on, but it's just I'm waiting for nice stuff. Yeah, so those came. That was the first year for the hunting rifle.
Hmm.
No shoulder holster. Um, you know, but like I said, those are my favorite, and I like muscle bodies too because of that they're kind of unique. When I first got them, I liked the 75s because they had the regular head, but then when they came out with that eagle eye thing, I was like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hit or miss on the eagle eye. I think it's cool. It's an interesting concept. The head's weird, but I've got several eagle eyes. I like to restore those, and um, they're cool. I don't know what I would consider my favorite's probably the Sea Adventure. I don't really care what year he's from. I just like the Sea Adventure. It was the first one I got.
Right.
I
You
got a
generally flock to the first one you get. Yeah.
yeah, and I've got him buried in my mom and dad's
The adventure was
backyard.
mine too.
Yeah, I used to
For
take that thing to the
here.
swimming pool, and I had a I when my mom got it for me at a garage sale, still had it came with a bunch of gear, and I still had an orange scuba suit that wasn't rotted,
Nice.
and I would zip his ass up, put scuba gear on him, and take him to the YMCA with my sister or this other place called the Surf Club, and I would sit and I would play GI Joe by myself. I
Yeah.
just go underwater all for hours, right?
Yep.
And I love doing that. And I did that for probably 2 or 3 years, probably just
Mhm.
loved that figure to death.
Yeah.
And then I buried him in my mom and dad's backyard. And I think I know where he's buried. And one of my future videos is me
Gotta
trying to
go dig
find
him
that
up.
guy, dig him up, and then
Yeah.
restore him.
Mhm.
If I can do that, I might just quit my YouTube channel. And that'd be my last video I post. And I just say, all right, I've done everything I
I'm
need to
done.
do,
I'm out of
guys.
here. See ya.
I'm out of here, guys. I don't want to do this
Yeah.
anymore. I'm done. I've done everything I wanted to do.
Yeah. Sea Adventure was my first one, and I would play in the bathtub for hours with him. Um, I think my mom finally got mad at me for being in the bathtub for 3 hours because we only had one bathroom, and yeah, so she would like uh, she'd pretty much say, "Get out now." I'd be like, what's the rush? And she didn't say I have to go to the bathroom, So, but yeah, the Sea Adventure was my first one, so I have a fondness for that. But also like the Man of Action and Land Adventure. But yeah, so 74s are my favorite. But
Have you ever got a figure from anybody to restore that you looked at? You're like, oh my God, this is an amazing figure. I'm going to see if they want to sell this to me.
mhm,
You have? Yeah. I wondered about that because I
yep,
could see that because I'm sure you run into some really unique stuff.
I do. I need to talk to Edmund Moondoggy about a couple heads that he sent me, and I would like to possibly do a swap. And you know what I'll do is like I haven't talked to him yet, so this is news for him.
Breaking news, boys.
I'm
Breaking news.
gonna break it out now. So Edmund, what I got, you sent me some heads to do, and I just was looking at him the other day, and I'm like, I'd like to maybe do a trade with you. I'll give you 3 for 2 of your heads. So we'll do a video, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But
Let's make a deal.
yeah, so he'll get an extra head out of it and flocked.
That's awesome.
I like to if I see something, I always approach the person, and if they don't want to do it, then it's no big deal.
Yeah.
He's like,
He's like, I am. He's here.
yeah. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. It just depends. It's no big deal if they don't want to. I totally get it. Maybe
Yeah.
that may be a personal thing. It's they grew up with. I don't know, and But every once in a while, I do see some really weird stuff, and I got a brass figure out of a trade, so never had one of those before. So
Wow. What's that?
The brass rivets.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about those. Okay. Yeah.
I got that out of a trade, so I was lucky. I gave 2 figures for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still have that one then?
Yeah, I still have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have here. I think. No, I don't think I do.
So do you have any figures left over from your childhood then?
None.
None.
I know where some are buried, and so
Yeah.
I went over to the house. It was a rental house, or it's a rental house now, and I went over and said, "Here's $50."
Oh,
I
wow.
said, and I came over with a shovel, and I said, "I want to dig on the side of the house here." And I said, I showed them how far out. They came out and looked, and they said no. And I'm like,
Really?
I'll put everything back. And I said, if you'll allow me, I said, I'll even throw a little water back down on it to make sure everything's good. No.
I would have said, hell yeah, let's do this. Let's do a video.
I said, you can be here while I do it. I said, I about know it was right in about from the front to the back of the house. It was right about in the center, right between 2 windows. So the reason why is that way. My parents couldn't see me on either one of the windows, so that's why I did that right there. And so I had there's a bunch of muscle bodies there. There's probably 25 or 30.
Really? Buried?
Yeah, because I've been doing it for years there. Yeah, and so I was like, oh man, that plastic, it's probably ruined, but I would still put one together, even if it's roached or whatever, just to have one of my own original ones. But they wouldn't let me do it. So.
How long ago was that?
Well, I did this 3 different times. So I
shit.
went to the one, and then they moved out, and then I thought, I should go over there while it's vacant. And then somebody had rented it right away. So then I lost that opportunity. So I waited for them to move in, and then I offered the next people $75, and they wouldn't do it either. And they said, well, you have to talk to the owner of the house. So I talked to the owner, and they said, no, you're not digging. And I said, I don't know what's over there. And I'm like, there's nothing. This is Florida. It's sand, it's grass and sand. So he wouldn't let me do it either. So, and then I went back in like 2016. So, and they've been buried there since 1975 or 76. And there was somebody else in the house, as old people, and they wouldn't let me do it either. Then when I was leaving Florida, I drove by the house one more time just to see. Somebody planted a damn garden there. So they had to dig.
Yeah. How deep did you bury him, you think?
Oh, not very deep. Maybe a foot, 2 foot tops.
They're probably still there, I bet.
Yeah, I didn't have a shovel, so it's whatever you could dig and with your hands and make a grave. So I'm sure they dug them up.
Huh. That would have been so cool.
Yeah, but that'll
Wow,
have
man. Wow, that's a crazy story that you offered him money and they wouldn't do it. Like most people, when you're offering people money,
I know.
they're gonna change.
Because you know what it's like when you see cash in the hand.
Oh yeah, you're
People
like, yeah.
they see the greenback and they're like, "Oh, sure, go ahead, have at it."
Oh
Yeah, no,
man, dude. Yeah. You know what I love about finding GI Joes at like auctions. I like getting when I get a Foot Locker and the kid who owned it has his name's on there and he's giving his rank, and it's just I never take that stuff off of there. I leave the writing on there because
I mean
that's
somebody enjoyed it.
it's somebody's stuff, and you're
Yeah,
just like you kind of just look at it for a while, and you're like, and if you get their Joes in there too, um, that's cool. I bought it was when my son was probably he wasn't quite one yet, but I was on Craigslist,
mhm,
and I stumbled across a guy in Indianapolis, and he had a green it wasn't a Foot Locker, it was like a homemade Foot Locker, a bigger thing.
yeah,
And I found it, and he had a sea sled, um, scuba gear, Joe, a bunch of other stuff. And I reached out to him. It was like $100. So I said, I'll take it. And I drove all the way to Indy. I think I met him in Plainfield. And I talked to him. It was in a McDonald's parking lot in Plainfield, Indiana. And I asked him, he got out. He was an older guy. He was probably he was in his 60s.
yeah.
And I said, were these your Joes when you were a kid? He's like, yep. And then my son was in the car seat because I'm a responsible dad. I'm gonna take my wife and son to go buy GI Joes. And I said, and he saw my son. He goes, well, hopefully, hopefully you guys can enjoy these, when he grows up. And I said,
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And I love that kind of stuff.
yeah,
I just love it. I love to just go chase Joes, find them, and when you get something in a lot of Joes, that is just like you said, it's a time capsule, and you're like, I wonder what these guys did with this.
yeah.
I wonder what. I always say it's funny. Dan DiBiase talked about the Eagle Eyes. How he said they've seen some shit. Here we go.
Yeah.
Pause.
It looked
He
like,
had
yeah,
one about yeah. I can't find the comment, but he had a really good comment about the Eagle Eyes, and it would be interesting if you could take a Joe and talk to him and say, "Hey, man, tell me your story."
yeah,
Like if you got ayahuasca one night or LSD, and you're like you did it, and you're like,
yeah.
"Tell me your
Right.
story," and then you're like,
And it talks back to you. Yeah,
"Yeah, I'm just joking, people. I'm not
yeah,
don't go out and
yeah,
do that."
yeah.
I mean, if you do, let me know how it goes. But
Yeah.
I
I
always
want to
like
hear
to
the story.
know. I want to know what those stories are, and
Yeah.
it's
Well,
just
here's what happened to me. So I was living in Wyoming. This was 1997, I guess it was, and back then there was no internet still, so got the paper and I saw somebody had advertised up in the Wyoming paper that they lived in Denver, but they had some GI Joes and a Foot Locker for sale. So I called the guy up and he said, yeah, he still had it. And he's just living in downtown Denver. And so it's like 110-mile one way
oof.
drive. So I load the whole family up. We go. I leave them out in the car. I go up there and I buy them. And we're standing there talking you could look down and see. And he goes, what did you drive? And I'm like, oh, that's me down there. And he goes, is that your family down there? And my son was playing in the back window with his car. And he saw him and he's like, your son like G.I. Joe? And I said, well, I'm trying to get him into it. I said, I want to get him involved in using his imagination and stuff. There wasn't really any video games, to speak of really then, not like they are today. So, you could buy stuff like that. And I bought him Hall of Fame, also. And he goes, well, maybe your son would like this. And he pulls out another Joe. He goes, here, you can have that. And it was another 60s Joe. And he was the original owner. And he put his name, and for rank, he put his telephone number.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so which is the first time I've ever seen that before. So usually everybody makes up a rank, or a serial number, but or they use their dads if there was, And so he gave me the Joe. So I go back downstairs and I put it in the car, and she goes, my wife says, so did you get what you want? I'm like, yeah, and I got a free one too. I never said nothing to nobody. The free one, my son. I just bought another Joe.
I like that.
Yeah, give him that one. I'll go give him a Hall of Fame then.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, that's a vintage awesome Joe.
Yeah, I got it for free, so he's getting a Hall of Fame.
Well, they're more durable.
Oh yeah. Well, he never tore. He always tore the clothes off of them. They were always naked all the time. I don't know. But,
they all do that. They all do that. My son does that too. His Joes are always naked. He thinks it's hilarious.
Well, I think it's once they get the clothing off, they maybe want to try, but it's so hard to get over those hands.
Oh yeah.
And the skin is kind of rubbery, so the clothes kind of drag on it. So he never got clothing back on him, any of them. But yeah, I wasn't going to give him the vintage one.
Do you still have that figure? Do you still have that one?
No. But Cotswold got them when I ran into financial difficulty.
Oh wow.
And I don't know if Greg was working there at that time, but back then they were the only place you could sell like a big thing one time that you could pretty much. So they just said pack everything up and send it to us. And I had a 5-star Moto Rev Jeep, had a bunch of stuff. Sent 3 boxes out, and they came back and said, okay, this is a Canadian, so I can't give you that for that. And they knocked it way down. I'm like,
yeah,
take the knife out now.
Yeah, it sucks. That's how it usually goes.
I mean, need the cash, so I took it.
Yep.
2 times. So
call Greg up and say, hey,
I want my shit.
I want my shit back. I got money now.
Yeah, I want to buy my shit back at the price I sold it to you for.
I did something kind of similar. I'm one of those tweener kids, right? So I was born in '74, towards the end of GI Joe, by my older brothers that had a lot of cool toys. So I played with their stuff, and then by the time I was old enough to really understand what was going on, I had Mego. I never had Super Joe, but I had He-Man and I had GI Joe Real American Hero. And I had almost everything from the Real American Hero line from probably the first 3 series. Wow. So, which I think were the best. I think as far as GI Joe Real American Hero, the first 82, 83, and then I think after that they started to get worse and worse. But I had almost all the vehicles. And when I was married the first time, I don't know what I was thinking, but my wife at the time basically just talked me into selling all my Real American Hero stuff. I sold it to a guy I knew. I work with him. I still work with him. And he was a big collector of that. He's younger than me by about 4 years or so. Mm-hmm. And he was just so shocked to get all my stuff. And I sold him everything for $200.
Oh my gosh.
And that was back in 2007.
So he doesn't want to sell it back?
I would never ask him. But so then I'd say about 2 or 3 weeks ago, my son and I were up in my attic, reorganizing my attic. And my brother, Joel, he's 6 years older than me. He was a big collector of the 82, 83 stuff. So he has almost everything from that year or those 2 years. And I have it all. So I was up in the attic and I knew I had it up there, and I dug it all out. And I just was so reminded of that time period. And those, when those figures came out, and I loved the little ones too. But I was just looking at them all, and I'm just like, fuck, I can't believe I sold all that for $200.
Yeah. No. When they came out, I bought one of those. I thought maybe I could get into that. I wasn't a dad yet. But I thought I'd buy one just to see. And it was neat and posable and everything, but I just couldn't get into it. I couldn't connect.
What's the interesting thing about those 82 figures that I don't think I've never heard anybody talk about, but if somebody's talked about this before, I apologize. But if you look at 64, you had one head sculpt, right? and they would do different hair colors, one head sculpt, and they even do the African American head dyed. And then you got the adventure team, still had one head sculpt with different colored beards, except for the African American guy was different. And then you got Bullet Man and Mike Power. And you look at that 82 line, there's only 3 head sculpts. And it's kind of interesting how Hasbro did that. And they had figures with beards and no beards. So they kind of kept, and they did the same thing with Super Joe. So they always kept that same theme of the bearded, no bearded figure.
Yeah.
Until the second series of Real American Hero, then you started getting your more Larry Hama inspired characters,
Right. But you're not counting the Soldiers of the World either, though.
No, I'm not counting those guys. Yeah. I forgot about those because you had 2 head sculpts there, right?
Right.
Japanese and then the foreign.
Japanese unique, and then you had the foreign one, which was used for everybody.
Yeah, because I always look at those Real American or the 82 figures, and you got like Clutch and Breaker, they had beards.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, these guys look like little adventurers.
Yeah.
It's weird.
If they would have, like, I know they were too small, but like if you could have been able to maybe put clothing on them and stuff, then I could have got a better connection to it.
Yeah.
But being able to do that kind of stuff, and sure, that had its unique possibilities because you don't have to worry about changing clothes or losing shoes and crap like that you did with the bigger stuff. And sure, they could fit in your pocket, but I guess I was just out of it, by that time.
It wasn't like the G.I. Joe I remember. I mean, my brothers had the one with all the clothes and stuff, and you could do all that stuff. It was just the 82 ones were cool. I think they had, in my opinion, some of the coolest concepts and vehicles. And then obviously it got super popular after that. They had a lot of cool sets, but the quality started to go downhill after every iteration. But G.I. Joe is just one of those. It is the brand to me still of boys' toys, even though collecting's changed so much. And I don't know, man, as we wrap this up, like, first of all, what do you love so much about G.I. Joe, and where do you see it being, 10, 15 years from now?
Well, I hope it's still around. Well, let's go. First question is well, let's do where do I see it from 10 to 15 years? So I hope that we're all still alive so we can still enjoy this.
No, that's good. It's a good start.
Right. So, and I hope that we can entice younger people to get involved in this. I don't know that, it's hard. I know we're losing, fellow Joe Bros and their collections are being sold off, and because their family doesn't want it. So I hope it would continue to go on. I don't really think it's going to. I think, since Hasbro has no plans to do anything with G.I. Joe, I think that's awful. I don't know why they won't let somebody do another G.I. Joe club, because I would certainly join into it. I was with the other one, the last one. So, doesn't look good, but I'm trying to be optimistic about it. So,
yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? Where do you think it's going to go?
Well, I think I am an eternal optimist for half of the day, and then I'm an eternal pessimist for the other half of the day.
Me too.
Just talk to me at certain points of the day. I can tell you something that I'll completely contradict later on in the day. I think with Hasbro doing the downsizing and the adult collector market being what it is, and kids not really into stuff, I just see him taking that IP and, excuse my language, but I see him taking it and whoring it out as much as they can to make as much profit. But my hope is there's going to be a silver lining to that where they'll get the right company that buys an IP, say for the adventure team or something, and comes up with a really good idea, and somebody from Hasbro lets them take that idea and run with it, and then there's a brand new iteration of GI Joe, because I think the biggest problem with GI Joe right now is there's no like creativity with it anymore. It's like they're just rehashing all the old characters in 6-inch scale, but there's no originality. And I always thought that, like, if you found the right person at Hasbro who wanted to say, hey, yeah, we got all this stuff, let's come up with a brand new GI Joe and let's bring the right people in, kind of like they did in '82 and like they did with the Adventure Team. Like, you could hire like a writer, like for instance, like Jack Carr, famous writer now, great stuff. Say, hey, come up with a GI Joe, a new GI Joe for us.
Sure.
And let's try it. But I don't think it's just like the movies. There's no one willing to take chances anymore because money governs everything. They just want a sure money maker. They don't want anybody to take a chances. I don't think you could get He-Man made today. I don't think you could pitch Real American Hero today, and Hasbro or Mattel would even do it.
I agree. I think, I think they want to put the least out and get the biggest return for it, which is any business that too. I get that too, but I mean, they should know that. I mean, yeah, I know when they put the stuff out, like we'll say like the 40th and stuff like that, when they put that stuff in the Walmart, that it was probably only collectors buying that kind of stuff, but it did sell.
Sure.
I mean, look at Walmart. They were blowing them out for $9.97. That's when they first, I was going in there and buying 10, 15 at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, I had I bought a ton of them.
Yeah. So I don't understand what the deal is. If they're gonna sell them at that, then the product moves. So what's the issue?
Yeah, I just think that there is the creativity is stagnant in those industries right now, because there's no one to encourage people to dream and to want to create something new, because there's just no financial incentive for it. So where does GI Joe go? I think GI Joe goes as far as Hasbro lets it, and right now it doesn't seem like Hasbro wants to go any further than GI Joe Classified, 6-inch scale, and whatever Super 7 wants to do, and which is fine. I get it. As long as GI Joe, I think I talked with this on Punk with Toys, is good in my opinion. If it's still out there and it's still in the ether, it's great. But I just think they're missing a prime opportunity to come up with something to make kids wonder again, to like foster imagination like you and I had as a kid. Because I know it's in every kid. It's in every kid.
If you don't bring it out,
right?
You don't exploit it for better use of words. But if you don't encourage it to happen and grow, it never will. And they'll just sit there and play video games all day long because it's no impact to them. They don't have to get on, crawl around, move, and get on the carpet or whatever. And they sit there and they're stuck playing this all day long.
Yeah. But I got hope. I mean, I who knows? I mean, you never know. You just never know. Like, it could be someday some dude buys Hasbro and says maybe he was a G.I. Joe fan as a kid. And he's like, I want to see a new G.I. Joe. You just never know.
Yeah, you never know. I just hope I'm around to see it.
Me too.
Well, that's what I want.
So my second question was, I think, what did I say? What was your?
I don't know. I don't remember tomorrow. So
what's G.I. Joe mean to you?
Oh, what G.I. Joe means to me. That's right.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe means to me is my childhood innocence. I guess that's the easiest way to put it for me. It brings me back to a time when I didn't have a care in the world. Didn't have to worry about bills. Nothing. What to eat. There was no care. Just go out and have fun and play G.I. Joe. And make sure that I was back at, when the streetlights came on. That's it. During the summertime. Or back by 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock during the weekdays. So I could get showered and eat dinner and go to bed. Because you had to be in bed at 8 o'clock usually, or 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But that to me, it's the innocence of a child. And so that's what I buy each time when I buy a Joe from somebody or trade or whatever, because buying back my innocence, I guess, in a way, before the world corrupted everything.
Yeah.
The man.
Yeah. That's a great explanation, man. I think you're spot on. I think you're absolutely right on that. I think it's just, I keep seeing this meme pop up on like Instagram or Facebook. It's like, why do I collect vintage toys? Because it reminds me of a time when I was genuinely happy. Like, it's so sad, but it's true.
It's very true, though. It is.
It is.
Yeah. It's because it brings me back to a time. And I have other things. I mean, I have Sizzlers. I have Evil People. I mean, I have all kinds of stuff. I those things, are kind of, it just brings me back to that time when, that was my, time that I just didn't have to worry about anything,
Yeah.
Soon after that, that's gone. And then, you don't get that back. So by getting these, it just brings that back to me. And even if it's a brief, short few moments, an hour, and I try to play with my stuff every now and then, because it keeps me
too
feeling young, but that's what it is for me. It's different for everybody else. I don't know. Some people just collect them to collect, or some want to collect for money wise. And I tell, here's the thing, like, I'll buy a figure, like, I'll just pull this one. Okay. I'll buy a figure like this.
Mm-hmm.
Now I may pay $50 for it or $150 for it. I don't care, because if it's worth $2 tomorrow, I'm still just as happy, because I bought it because it makes me happy, and whatever it's worth, I don't really care. Yeah, it could hurt a little bit, financially wise, but I don't really look at it that way, though. And when you go down to it that way, but whatever it's worth is whatever it's worth. It can go up, down, I don't care.
Yep.
Because I don't ever plan on really getting rid of it, and if I do, then it goes, and then it's gone, and then I'm not going to do it again, because I'm too old to start this again.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you have enough. I think you still got room. I don't know if you have enough back there.
I might be running a little tight, but
well, hey, man,
I never expected to do this. This was all because of Paul Knapp. Yeah, he goes like, just bring a couple figures out. So every time I did, I just kept stacking more and more, and then now look at it.
Paul's a bad influence.
Yeah,
he is. He is Dr. Evil.
Yeah,
he is. He's Dr. Evil.
Before we go on the air, you do this.
Yeah, no. He's the producer. Well, hey, man, this has been a great conversation. I'm so happy you came on here and did this. You're a cool dude, man. I think.
Thank you for having me on.
I think we, like I said in the beginning, I think all of us have either had a head flocked by you or know somebody who's had a head flocked by you, and you do awesome stuff. You're a cool guy. You have an awesome collection. When you're on Paul Knapp's show, like this past Monday, you keep it super awesome and funny, and you're a great part of that show. And we are lucky to have guys like you in our hobby.
Well, thank you. I think we're lucky to have guys like you in the hobby too, because we need to support each other, if anything.
Absolutely. I mean? Goonies stick together.
Goonies stick together, yeah.
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 All right, man. Well, let's wrap this up. I'm gonna stick around backstage. I'll get us out of here, and we'll move on and get ready for the next one, man. Thanks, Stacy. I appreciate it, buddy. Before we go, tell everybody where they can find you, your socials.
Yeah, just SIG20. You can email me at Yahoo, and then you can get me on Messenger on Facebook, or Stacy Armstrong. So on Facebook, so I have those two, and just message me if you want something to get fixed or whatever, or if it's other toys. I do, like I said, I restore Evil Knievel stuff. Pretty much anything.
He's not busy.
Yeah. I stay busy.
All right, Stacy.
All right.
Thanks for stopping by, buddy. I appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, gang. That's it for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. This was absolutely awesome. Stacy is one of the coolest dudes around, and he does fantastic work. Definitely check out the stuff he's got going on. In 2 weeks, we're going to have, I believe, Rick Bradshaw on. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. And in the meantime, keep living the adventure and cheers.